Good Monday morning, everyone. Oh my gosh. We don't have a hurricane or tropical storm hitting any of us today in Texas. It's sun shining out, at least here where I am. I know down in Houston, they are still
Yes.
struggling. I know they are still struggling with power and no Wi Fi. Sandy just got her Wi
I
Fi
got
back.
Wi-Fi last night.
Oh my
So
goodness, you guys,
I
it's
know, I
crazy.
know.
Crazy up in here, but you're listening to Author Talk with me, Aimee Russell, and Sandy's with us today, and Ann Charles is our author guest. I have to give a shout out before we dive into our weekend, Ann. So our very own Gina Ray, I swear, is your groupie and your biggest fan, and
Awesome.
I know we had like a scheduling change. I had scheduled you where she could be on, but she doesn't have any Wi-Fi. So she's
Oh.
just so in an uproar that she is missing this. And so I'm giddy inside that I have Wi-Fi and I get to do that. So it's just great. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. But weekends, let's dive into the weekend. So I had a hot mess, chaotic, wonderful weekend. My mother and two of my sisters came in town to stay with me on Friday. Russell, I know it sounds terrible.
Poor Josh.
To stay with me on Friday because we were throwing Meadows' actual birthday party on Saturday. And they drove up, this was great. I do not know how to do balloon arches. I am not a decorating mom. I will play with glitter and vinyl and graphic design the hell out of anything. I am not a decorating party mom. Like that's
Yes,
not
but you
my.
are a good construction manager, mom. So
I'm
you have
fabulous.
your strengths.
I'm really good at that. So my other sisters are really good at that. My mom's really good at that. So they came up and helped me do this frozen balloon arch for Meadow because that's what she wanted. We put streamers up and just had everything kind of set. Josh was in charge of food, so I didn't give a care about food. That was all him. His parents came up also the night before and came and just were, everybody was getting together. And then my other sister and my dad came up on Saturday. So it was just a fun, chaotic birthday party. We had water balloon fights, photos, cake, everything that a 5-year-old would just love. So it was fun. And then everybody went home on Saturday. Everybody went home. We went
God
to another.
bless people going home.
Yes.
We went
I
to
am
another
sorry I didn't
birthday
get to
party.
see. I didn't know your mom was going to be there. I'm sorry I didn't get to see.
Oh, it's okay. So it was a fun, chaotic one, and that will feed into our later segment of Pissed Off Aimee. But it
I
was
love
a
pissed off Amy segment.
God, it was just a really fun time. I have a photo. I sadly did not post it, so I cannot share it. I will post it after the show. But I do have a photo of mine and Josh's family all got together and took one photo in my house, which I know you guys are all going to think that I'm crazy. Russell, you for sure. But the fact that my new house can host everybody and they can come and they can stay, we had 36 people in our house and it never
Yes.
felt
And
crowded.
that's
It was
bad
not.
because that means everyone will assume that you are supposed to host all holidays in the future. That's
I
not
would
good.
love that though. I would, at least for the first couple of years, because in Houston we couldn't do it. Our apartment was too small. When we first moved here, our house was smaller, but we only were going to have one child at that time. But our house was smaller, and so it was one of those things like just to have 36 people here outside and inside. My sisters staying here and my mom, and I could house all of them, and it was comfortable. To me, it was just a wonderful thing. So it was just fantastic. I know, Russell. It's not for you. I think
It
it's a phase.
sounds awful.
It's a phase because I have my new house. They all came to see it too, right? So it's just a phase, Russell. I think, and I think, and
No, they will assume you're supposed to host Thanksgiving.
But I
You
don't think
watch,
it's.
and
I don't believe.
when it happens, Amy, I want you to say once again, Russell, you were right.
But Russell,
okay.
I've had my house for 20 years.
I can't
And
help
I
it if
bought
you
a big
have
enough
made
house that I
lifetime
can host my whole
mistakes.
family. And I've never gotten tired of having all of my kids and my grandkids here.
Well,
So
we all have bad life choices. I can't help your bad life choices.
Oh
This
my
is not a
goodness.
show about crying. This is a
I love
show about
I
Ann.
love it. I absolutely love that, Russell. That is just
My
Fabulous.
granddaughter told me once, "This is the house where we all feel safe." And
See,
I'm like,
that's the trouble.
I
That's
like
the
it that
best.
way.
That's the best. My mom's house is like that, Sandy, and my mom's the exact same way. So I totally understand. So what all did everybody else do this weekend? It can't be as cool as having a frozen birthday party. Okay, like I'm sorry, it just
I'd
is.
rather slit my wrist.
Russell, it was fabulous. But anyways, I know it's you. So what did you do this weekend?
Okay, I have so much to talk about before we
Ooh,
get to Anne. The first thing is, I did this podcast interview for my book called Shooting It Raw with Rand Elfasy. This
okay.
guy is in Hong Kong.
Ooh.
And the podcast was so different. And Anne, you want to be on this podcast.
I have actually once. He's really amazing. He's a wonderful guy.
Oh, he is. He's my brother. I was stunned. Uh, you actually sent him 4 photographs, and that is the the surface subject matter of your podcast. Now, it's not the real subject matter. The real subject matter is he's really digging into who you are and your philosophy, etc. But he does it through the surface of talking about 4 photographs that you send him. And I sent those to Aimee, not necessarily to post, but to post if it becomes a subject, a subject. And uh, this guy, he talked about all the things I wanted to talk about. He may have done that with you, Ann, too. He's incredibly well read. We talked about writing. We talked about Proust. We talked. We talked about traveling. We talked about our trips to Beijing and the Great Wall. And he was an amazing guy. I would love for this guy. He's also a writer. I would love for this guy to be on our podcast because this is an interesting man.
He very
Okay.
much he was. I didn't know what to expect when I did it. And like you said, we were all over the place, but yet he was so insightful and when you finished you felt like, yeah, hey, I've made a new friend. This guy's amazing and interesting and he takes interest in what your pictures are on a deeper level, which is
Yes.
really neat.
Hey, the coolest photo, Russell, that you sent me that I want to know about, hold on, I'm playing with double screens and it's new for me, is I want to know about the camel photo. So hold on, let me pull it up because I'm having to like multitask here on my screen. So I want to know about the camel photo, Russell. Can you tell me about that one while I pull it
Yes.
up?
And Rand was very interested in this one too. You need to move your hand,
I
Amy.
know, Russell. I had to pull my thing down, and I don't think you want to stare at that section, okay?
Thank
So
you.
we're
Okay.
just going here while I can share it. There we
Okay.
go. And I'm
This
back.
was when I was riding a camel across the Wadi Rum Desert. And if you've ever seen the movie Lawrence of Arabia,
Okay.
uh, when he is riding and he's singing, I'm the man that broke the bank of Monte Carlo, and it's echoing. This is the 12 pillars of Lawrence of Arabia, is where he's riding this, and it echoes. I was riding camels that day across the desert, actually sang that song. I had one of the other people I was riding with knew wanted to sing it too, so we sang it together, and it did echo just like in the movie. Not as loud because they obviously accentuated it for the movie, but it
Uh,
does echo. It was just I was drunk on life that day. That was probably the drunkest on life I've ever been. It was a great day.
I love it. You like rode a camel out in the wild. I've only rode a camel at the zoo, so I'm
No, this
jealous.
was that across the Wadi Rum Desert, just like in the movie. It was just so cool.
I love that.
And uh, we had so much in common, Anne, that he decided that we were brothers,
Hmm.
that we were brothers that never met. I told him I was too old to be his brother. He was my son. He seemed to, for some bizarre reason, think that was not what he wanted to be. He said, no, he was my oldest brother.
I love it.
Anyway, it was a spectacular interview.
Well, you do get the idea that he's spiritually beyond his age. I mean, when you talk to him, how well read he is, how much, he knows about so many different areas of life. Yeah. He's just
Yes.
older than
How old is he?
35-ish. What
Yeah,
would you
that's
guess,
what I
Ann?
guess. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Hopefully we'll see, because hopefully he'll be on this show in the future.
I got you. I will reach out.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about was a scam that I came across. And I'm interested in, since Ann does podcasts, different podcasts, if she's been hit by this scam. Just this week, I got hit by a scam where I got a text from writers something saying that they could guarantee me that I could sell 45,000 books if I would sign up with them.
Oh boy.
45,000.
Wouldn't that be
My
nice if it
my
was real?
ass. Like, I
Yeah.
hope no.
I know. And then they sent me a second text. This is why it got interesting. Then they sent me a second text saying, "Oh, we hadn't heard from you yet in the last hour. You need to do this within the next day, or tell us that you want us to stop texting." So I told them, stop texting me. Then they sent me a
Nice.
text. "Are you sure you want me to stop texting you? Because you're going to miss selling 45,000 books." I said, "No, stop texting." Then they said, "Okay, now we're going to stop. We won't send you any more texts." And then I got another text the next day saying, "Now, have you do you regret telling us not to text you? Because we don't want to text you if you don't want to be texted."
Talk about harassment. Oh my
God.
gosh. That's
And I thought, what a
insane.
scam. What a
What it,
scam.
it's
Russell,
constant, isn't it?
you
Jeez.
should have just started messing with them. Josh would have messed with them.
I
At some
would,
point,
but I don't
you
have
know.
time for that stuff.
I
Right?
mean, I get it. I'm just saying, at some point, you're just like, I've had enough, and I'm just going to tell you, I don't know, anything. I love it. But
Okay.
that's insane. I've never had that. That's insane.
I've been getting hit with Facebook private messages scams like crazy lately. Everybody,
Oh,
oh, we're going to shut you down. Oh, we're going to shut you down. Constant. If you don't do this, we're going to shut you down. And there's times in the last, I've had a busy spring with with personal stuff, and there's times when I think, oh, just please shut me down.
yeah.
I'll escape and go fly free. Maybe I'll move to Costa Rica. I don't know, just shut it down then if it's going to be that
I
bad.
like it. I like it.
So, but it's not. It's all scams one way or the other. I'm a turtle in life, so I figure if you're trying to rush me with something like that, you got a turtle. I'm just going to turtle my way along slowly, and
Now,
you
this
know
doesn't make sense, Ann. How can you
why?
be a turtle when your co-writer sounds like the most interesting man in town?
Well,
Even the description of him sounds interesting. I was like, who is this guy? He
he's
sounds so awesome.
he is what do they call it? Renaissance man. He's very
Mm-hmm.
much. He does a little bit of everything. My son had a little fender bender this week. And my husband became a body shop guy and was able to completely, bang out, fix, pull all the part, do all the work needed to fix our vehicle again and get it up and running. I said, "Wow, I didn't know you could do body shop." And he said, "Well, I didn't either, but with our old Jeep, we can pull on stuff and make things work." And off we go again with a little duct tape at the end.
Well, I just
I
must
love
say that it seems to be hidden back there. But when I saw the writing about who he was, I was like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy?
Oh man, the amount of research he does is incredible. And when we decided to do this, prequel basically to the Deadwood series, where it's historic Deadwood 1870s, the way he gets into research and digs into so much, this was just perfect, right up his alley.
I love it. We're gonna have to dive into that more. Sandy, what did you do this weekend?
Well, Saturday I did nothing, stayed home because I didn't get to go to the party. And on Sunday we went to Austin to have dinner with my granddaughter who was 21. It was her birthday, so the a bunch of the family got together. So we drove all the way to Austin, had dinner, had lunch, and then came home. But it was great. We did to see the family even for just for lunch, so it was fun.
I love it.
But it was tiring. And so today I'm like, oh, that's right. I got AuthorTalk.
Well,
Early, get dressed.
yeah. No, AuthorTalk jumpstarts a lot
I'm
of stuff.
retired, so I'm on Mondays. I can normally just listen and watch them without having to do any makeup or any of that kind of stuff. Today,
I know.
I am.
AuthorTalk jumpstarts a lot of stuff for me. I don't know. It jumpstarts my week, my morning. It sets my tone for the day, sometimes the week, sometimes the week. Okay, so it's a fun time. It's a fun time. Well, Anne, what did you do this weekend besides help your son in his fender bender?
Wow, nothing compared to it seems like you guys. I've been I just got back from Deadwood a week in the last week. And so a lot of it was coming back, unpacking, getting into the mode. We were doing some promoting of the new book there in Deadwood. And meeting with retailers that carry the books, and one of the coolest thing we got to do was go down into this Deadwood City archives and see all the stuff, all the artifacts they've dug up with their archaeology over the years that they keep down there stored away. Talk to the archivist, talk to the guy in charge of, the whole historical part of Deadwood. And wow, my mind was blown at the records they have. I mean, they have insurance records on top of insurance records that can show you, for example, where there was an old roller skating rink and then the new one. And this is back just a year or two after the town was incorporated back then. So the amount of really cool, history they have stored up, and they don't even, this isn't what they put in the museums even. So it was just like, wow, in a candy factory for us.
That's awesome.
And that was it. I've been writing, which is much needed. So digging back into the next book I'm working on, which is boring for the world, but that's how we do it.
So we need to thank.
Fascinating.
We need to thank the people that listen to our podcast. Most people don't watch us on live Monday morning, but they listen to our podcast during the week, driving home, working out. It's the reason that our podcast lasts 45 minutes. It's the average workout for a person. We are very grateful to be top 10 independent book podcast in America. And it's easy to find us now. Aimee, how do people find us?
Well, it's easy for Russell to find us now. I feel like it was easy for everybody else too, but Russell can find us.
It was hard.
I know, Russell. I know. Sometimes things are hard. I get it. So you can find us anywhere that you can find a podcast. So my go-to is Amazon Music, Spotify, Good Pods, Apple if you have an iPhone, Google Play if you have an Android like me. That's where you can find our podcast. Type in AuthorTalk, look for the crimson, red, and gold because those are my favorite colors. I love them. So I was selfish and I picked those colors. And you can listen to all 8 years worth of episodes on those, and over at our YouTube channel, you can watch us. We tend to be very animated, okay? I control my mouth and not my facial expressions, okay? And I talk a lot with my hands, which you can't see right now because I'm sitting down. But I do talk a lot with my hands. So free to go on over to our Facebook group, YouTube channel, any one of our social media channels. You can go and follow us, and you'll catch us Mondays at 10 a.m. Central. Have a laugh with us, engage with us. We love hearing from you guys and interacting with all of you. So, without further ado, Anne, let's get you talking about your latest book, your fun co-writer that Russell just absolutely loves. So, Sandy, take it away.
Thank you, Dan. It's very nice to meet you. And Dina, if you're watching, I'm so sorry you didn't get to be here. But I'm glad I did because I get to meet Anne. And I've been reading all about you and Sam Lucky. And I agree, that's a great thing for you, a husband and wife team to write books together. I think it would be fun. Is there times when it's not fun?
Russell's shaking his head. There are
It is not
times.
fun because there are fights that are going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And that's the truth of the matter. I once had a reader say, "What do you guys do when you disagree?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, we get together and we sing a song and do a dance number together about it, right?" No. Um,
I was going to
we
say,
we
really?
kind of have a written rule. Whoever's the most passionate about the topic wins the argument, is really how it's ended up. And sometimes I'm a little more passionate and animated, and sometimes he is. But in the end, we're trying to share a story and do the best we can for readers, and we try to keep that in mind. And so each book, of course, as you read through the series, I think each book probably feels a little bit different, not just because of the subject matter and how we changed, the theme and everything else within it, but also because, behind the scenes, we have different topics that we have been maybe discussing, sometimes heatedly, sometimes not, just trying different things as we go along in order to improve each story. So there is, a slightly different feel when I read back through them because of course I'm remembering all what happened behind the scenes, but I can't imagine if you really analyzed it like a 12th grade English lit class where the teacher's making you write papers about it, then you'll probably pick up on it.
Oh wow, that's a lot of fun. That even in spite of the fact that yes, there's going to be some time. I was as you're talking, I'm thinking of me trying to do something like that with my husband. We don't agree on anything, so I was like, I don't know how we might still be working on book one. But so there's two. As I understand, so I've looked over your website and over your PR sheet. You have two Deadwood series. Is that right?
Correct. There's a contemporary and then there's the historical.
So one is the Deadwood Undertaker series, and that's the one you write with Sam.
Right.
And then there's the Deadwood Mystery series.
Right. And the Undertaker series is actually, it's a prequel to the Deadwood Mystery series. So there's a lot of it's supernatural that we dabble in as well. So there's a lot of similar, same characters. Maybe they were alive back in the 1870s and now they're not. Maybe they're a supernatural character that doesn't age like humans, so they're still there in the contemporary. So it's a lot of fun if you get into both series because you can see crossovers and you learn about what's happening in the contemporary. You can learn about maybe why this is happening from the historical version.
So what about the other series?
So I have 3 other series: Jackrabbit Junction, Dig Site, and AC Silly Circus novellas. And I have one world, basically one big. I like to think of it of a big dig site, a big archaeology thing where there's different temples and each series represents a temple, and what goes on around that temple. But they're all connected. And the Jackrabbit series, for example, the main characters, the Morgan sisters, they are neighbors. They grew up next to Violet Parker, who stars in the Deadwood Mystery series. And they're cousins with Violet's best friend. And so the best friend goes back and forth a lot of times between the series because we're going back and forth. And what makes that kind of fun is the Jackrabbit series is not supernatural. It's more mystery, action, adventure, kind of fun humor. So balancing that, what's happening in the supernatural world, and then taking her over to a regular world is kind of fun for me, to have that character bouncing between worlds. And then the dig site is Violet Parker's brother, Quint Parker, his series, and that takes place all down in the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's all about Maya archaeology. It's my Indiana Jones dream, I wanted to do. And so I get to do it down there in the jungle.
Uh,
I think Sandy's
I think we lost Sandy.
She's frozen.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't get as much internet as she thought she did.
Maybe. Who knows? I really love the Indiana Jones kind of comparison to it because I love those movies. The new one, not so much, but I love those movies. I grew up watching those movies, and it just is. I like the I don't think I've ever heard someone make like that comparison, and it makes me really happy.
Can I ask a question about the new series? I'm dying to ask. So
Okay.
Yes.
tell me about one of your characters that is was existing in the later earlier written novels that now is a still a real person, not a dead person yet. Do you have one of those characters? Because I
Um,
thought, wow, what a twist that is when you come across that as a regular reader of Anne Charles.
there are several. And I can give you one. In the contemporary series, you meet him in book 3, I believe, and his name is Mr. Black. Um, and so he's very intimidating and he's scary. You know early on that he is supernatural in the series, the contemporary series. And when we go back in time, we know him as Ludic because these supernatural characters tend to have to change a little bit to blend in with humans. They can't be the same, or of course they're going to stick out. So they have to change their name and change a little bit, how they are.
I
But
like that. I like
he's
that.
Ludic, and he is a key part of fighting the evil, that is back then. But of course, you don't know that in the contemporary book initially without, this kind of ruins it a little, but not much. But just, you don't realize what a key character he is because he just scares the crap out of you at first. So he's a really fun character that bridges both series.
And I mean, I guess that didn't take much to think of that. That was whose idea was that? Was that yours or Sam's?
I think I don't know. I can't pinpoint. A lot of this comes up with brainstorming. It was in book 9. I was writing book 9 of the Deadwood contemporary series. And we were watching a historical documentary about undertakers in the Old West. And I said to my husband after we finished, you don't see many documentary, information about women undertakers in the Old West. Were they not even there, or were they dressing the bodies and just kind of they weren't the main focus? What's the story, on the women undertakers? And it kind of got us talking about including a female undertaker and telling a story about Deadwood back in the Old West from a female undertaker's view. She comes into town, but she's not your normal female undertaker. She's actually one of the more supernatural characters, a blend of human and something else. And she just became bigger than life. I mean, and she really is. Clementine is the name we gave her for the series. It's not her real name, but it's what she uses. And she's like 6'1". And imagine a 6'1" female. She's Viking, lineage. So she's kind of this big Viking woman coming in. And, right out of the gate, she's, of course, protecting of some of the soiled doves and their treatment that's going on. And she can fight like nobody's business. So we just built this whole character out of watching this documentary and just kind of brainstorming after. And, that's kind of how a lot of these characters, a lot of them were there in the Deadwood series because I'd written things. But then there was like, well, let's show what, that character was doing back then. So it was really fun to start going, okay, we have a female character. She's a ghost, and she is a real pain in the butt ghost, and she is tough on the main character. And it was really neat because we have her as a ghost that has, abilities in the contemporary, but then we were able to go back in time and show you what she was alive, what she was like when she was alive, and how, badass she was then living. And now here she is a ghost, and she's still really tough, so that was really fun to develop too, those crossover characters.
Can y'all hear
So
me now?
yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you now. So, Anne, one question that Sandy always asks is, what got you to writing?
Oh,
What
I'm not.
was the
Honestly,
development of you and Sam to the if, that you evolved into writers? How did
yeah,
that happen?
especially something like this. I mean, this is not your norm, mystery, cozy mystery or whatever. This is different, and it's got all the humor mixed in. Plus, it takes place in the West. So yeah, where did that all this come from?
Wow. Well, neither of us really intended ever to write. This was not what we, grew up wanting to be. We each had our dreams and what we planned, and of course life brought us together. And I was in my late 20s, he was in his early to mid 30s, and we got married, and I was, by that point, I was already trying to write stories. I was also getting my English degree and doing all this other stuff, but I was trying because I kept reading books that I enjoyed, but I wanted more from the ending than what I got. I like a big full ending that makes me feel fulfilled, even if it's like, we're gonna
Endings are hard, Anne. Good endings are hard.
They are, but when they're done well, they leave you feeling so fulfilled. And even in a series, if you're going to keep going, I still want an ending that leaves me fulfilled. And so that's why I started writing, because I was like, well, maybe I'll just write my own endings for a couple of these books I really like, and do what I need to do to make me feel fulfilled. And it developed into writing a full story, and then trying harder, and then trying to make this happen. And then Sam and I, by the time we were getting together, I was already trying to do this, and he was much more. He'd read so much more than I had because, well, I should say more literature. His mother was an English teacher for, in high school. And so he grew up with a mom who was always handing him books and saying, try this now, read this now, and so he was really fortunate to have that guidance going
That's
in.
a good thing, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, since the start, I've always said, man, your vocabulary, could you bring it down a notch sometimes when you talk to me? Just a little, because, when you read literature from early on, your vocabulary is a lot wider than a girl who grew up on a farm, and read Stephen King and um, Louis L'Amour and all that kind of stuff. I'm a little bit not quite, where he was, but, and we still joke about, that. And anyway, so we got together. I was writing. He supported it from the start. He was all for, yeah, see if you can make this happen, Um, not like, oh, that's a pipe dream, get back to work doing this. He was more, let's make this happen. Let's follow this and see if it can be, your dream can become real. And so he was there from the start, behind the scenes. We would brainstorm stories. We would talk a lot. He was always my first reader, and so he's just been coming right along with me. And so it just seemed natural when we talked about this Old West version with the Undertaker, that he would, and he loves to do research. So he was like, yeah, hey, I'd like to try my hand at this so that you can keep working on the other series and keep those going more. And I'll put time into this, and we'll get this up and going, and it won't take as much as your time. And so that's how it kind of all grew and got going, and just, building since then.
Okay, so that is all great. My husband is same story. His brother was a professor at college, English professor. So his vocabulary is like out of this world. And I do the same thing with him. I'm like, look, one of the things about being a good speaker is consider your audience. Okay, your audience may not understand those words, but that's great. That's awesome. So, how many books do you have total?
Oh, well, I think we're at 36. I don't know. I haven't counted lately. I think this new one puts us at 36. I was
Wow.
doing 2 to 3 books a year pretty regularly for a while, but then in the last 2 years, I almost lost my dad. He pulled through, and then I did lose my mom. So that took me down to 1 book a year, is what I could accomplish. Grief is a funny beast, how you think you're doing okay, and all of a sudden you wake up and it's a bad week, and you're like, whoa, I thought we were through this. So, I just feel like now, one of the things we did in Deadwood was we had her memorial. And so now I kind of feel like it's been a while. She's been gone since February. I'm getting back. I'm going again. Let's get this, train a rolling. And the humor's still there. That's always my worry when I go through such times of grief is, boy, did I lose that sense of humor that, is on the page. And so it's a little scary getting back to work. But then finding, oh, good, it's still there. I still have it in me. And I know a lot of people talk about how, grief can really add to your sense of humor when you go through it. It's a real, back and forth between joy and sadness. And I really experienced that more in the last 2 years,
Will you
whether
write
I
about it?
wanted to or not.
Will you
What was
write about that? Your mom and losing your mom? Would that be
I don't
included?
know, because this world is, Deadwood world is so different from normal life. And um I don't know how I would incorporate. I do think, I should say this, I do think it's going to show up in my writing, in that there's going to be a depth in areas maybe that I didn't understand before. Maybe some part where someone, is nearly killed or is killed. There's probably going to be a different depth there now that I've experienced. So it's going to come out on the page.
Because I noticed you have your book 3.5, which is the Christmas story, and so there could always be a whatever 0.5 and do a different story. But that's awesome, and for you to go through that and still keep writing even the same year, I think it's amazing.
It's
One of the
been
things
a lesson.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, it's been a lesson to me what I can and can't write through. I thought I could write through anything, but I can't. So
Got it. So one of the things I love, and I am glad you have your humor still, because are you the one that writes the title for the book?
well, for the joint series, we both work together on them. For the Deadwood series, I tend to try to, I bounce a lot off. We work together, so I come up with a list of things a lot of times and just keep throwing at it. But I just can't start a book until I have a title. I don't know why that is, but I need a title.
That I'm shocked, and I'm shocked to hear that. And the title you pick before you write, is that the title you usually end up with?
Yes, it
I'm
sticks with
shocked.
it.
You must be an outliner, not a pantser, when it comes to writing. Is that
I
what that means?
I try to outline, and I've learned to do really high level, because by first turning point, I'm totally off. But I do an outline, like I said, a real high level plotting thing, just to show myself that the story's there, that I do have enough to write a story, and give myself that confidence. And then I start, and I'm not joking, 9 times out of 10, by the first turning point, I look back at what I wrote for the, outline, if you will, and I'm like, whoa, I am so off. Let's just push this aside and keep going and see where we end up now. But the title's
where
key.
You said your books are character driven, so
Right.
You see where the characters take you.
Exactly. I tell them, hey, this is what we're going to do this book. And they go, okay, right. Let's get going. And then they just take off.
That's great. I love that. But the new book, the one that just came out in June, Hip Deep in Bad Company. I love that title. I mean, I love all of them, but I'm just amazed, and I'm very, very envious, because one of the things in marketing I should be able to do is write great titles or great something, great headlines, and that's just never been my strength. Aimee can tell you when we've sat down to come up with a title for a new project we're working on or something. It's just not me. So I'm always impressed with somebody that can do a great saying or title. And I loved every one of your titles. I was looking through all of them on your website. So I think that I did sign up for your newsletter. So I don't know how often that comes out, but I just see, and I was going to tell you that I was surprised that you didn't have your cowboy hat on this day. So
I'm glad she didn't have her cowboy hat on.
It's behind me there.
It's not organic to her being in the house.
This is writer Ann right here.
Right. So, I do have another question for you.
Got it.
Where can people look up Ann Charles and The Interesting Sam and find all the books that you've written and what's coming out and where they can buy it?
So AnnCharles.com is where you can go to find everything. Now, Sam does have a website, but he's busy researching. He's always like, I don't have time. I'm researching. I've got, all this stuff going on. So we work
even his bio kind of says that.
He's busy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got, I kid you not, he's got many projects around the house and the yard, outside that he's doing, and he's always got his Jeep to work on. There's just something to be done, and so we really decided early on, rather than try to build two big websites, let's just focus on this one, AnnCharles.com. We'll have everything on there, and Sam pipes in every now and then on Facebook or different places, but mainly that man is busy.
Okay.
That's awesome. Russell, go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, we need to go. We do need to ask Amy. We have our final section that is the most important part of the day. Is Amy, why did you get crazy pissed off this week? What happened?
Russell, you make okay. Anyways, I don't get pissed off.
And this is the funny part. Why are you wearing like you're in jail orange overalls today, pissed off? That's all I
needed to see if orange was in my color reel. Okay, I needed to see how it would look. Okay, you just.
I thought it was like jail overalls.
Okay, now we have Amy.
I think Amy quit us. She got mad.
No, I'm back. I'm back. You guys, my new house has like shit internet. Okay, so we'll just add that to Amy's pissed off segment as I'm hard lined in and they only have one internet provider and it's crap. Okay. No. So one thing I just irks my gears is showboating. Okay. It bothers the hell out of me, but when it involves my children, it really makes me mad. So that is just my upset thing of don't use my children at all. Like, just don't. Doesn't fly with me. Doesn't make me happy. Just don't do it. So, yeah, Amy's piss off segment is don't showboat.
So what's the story?
What happened?
Don't showboat.
What happened?
Nothing happened.
Nothing? Nothing.
I just don't like it, okay? My kids
Something happened, but we're not going to talk about it.
My kids are fabulous, and I love my kids, and I know that they're fabulous. But if you're not directly their family or extended family, don't use my kids to make you look better. Doesn't happen. So showboating just in any stance makes me upset, but when my children are involved, orange is my new color. Okay. So, rocking the orange. Honestly, Russell, though, I didn't even think about that until you pointed it out. And I love that you pointed that out because I never thought about it. It
made me laugh when I saw it. I waited the whole show to say it.
Well,
and thank you so much.
Oh yeah. No. I'm with you, Amy. We've shielded our kids from the very beginning from anything public, with Facebook, anything, just because I don't want the kids pulled into any of this. Yeah.
No, I mean, my kids were on when they were like babies, because I was taking care of them and doing it.
Right.
Now that they're older, if I post photos of them for big moments, it's those kinds of things, but I don't do that. Yeah, I do that very little. And so when I don't know where they're going or who's seeing them, it really makes me uncomfortable, makes me unhappy. So
wait till they're teenagers.
Well, okay, at that point,
wait till they show up like Ann's son did with a broken up car.
I know. We had lots of talks this week about own it. Just own it. Be humble, tell the story, make it fun, have fun with it. I have a horrible first crash story that's hilarious and far worse than his. So I'm just like, this is nothing. Yeah, you should try to do what I did. So we just have fun with it.
Oh, okay. As long as they're okay, right? We're all
right.
Everything else is replaceable as long as they are okay. But yeah, no, those are the two things that really irk me. My stupid internet really getting on my nerves. Okay, and using my children, that makes me very upset. So fun times, you guys. Frozen birthday parties, fun times. But no, and thank you so much for taking time out to come and talk. You're always such a delight, and your writing. I know Dina has read your books multiple times, and she just talks about how she cracks up the entire time that she's reading your books. And so she absolutely adores them. She has told me to go and get them. So it's next. We're doing this campaign reading together. And so it's next on our list for us to read together, though she's already read them. So technically she's cheating because she's already read them and I have not, but they are on our list and she absolutely loves them. So
well, let her know this December we're doing a collector's edition in hardback of Nearly Departed, and we've updated it. I'm working with a small press publisher, and it's totally updated. Beautiful big new cover, glossy, gold foil, all kinds of cool stuff. And so that'll be out this year for her, and it's more contemporary. I tried to, that's 12-year-old book, so I tried to bring it more up to date, but not changing any, major stuff. Just little minor details.
I just wanted to say one last thing to Anne. Is looking over your website, I'm totally blown away by the number of awards you received.
Oh,
all of them from the USA Today, all the way through some that I never heard of that sound wonderful. So very impressed, very impressive. And I was going to ask you, do you and your husband, is this your full-time job, doing the writing and publishing?
This is it. Unfortunately for our children, this is what we talk about 24/7 in our house. So yeah, this is it.
Well, you are my hero, because I would love when I meet an author that is so dedicated and so focused that becomes their entire, work, everything. So congratulations. It was great to meet you, and I hope I get to see you again next time we do it.
Thank you. And Aimee, give Dina a hug for me, please.
absolutely.
She's wonderful. So yeah, someday I'll get to see her. Maybe meet her. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. She's amazing.
Do you ever do any book signing tours or any tours or anything like that?
I do. I go up to Deadwood. I go up to Deadwood every year, and we have a fan party. So that's a big week for us, with a lot of hanging out with readers and signing books left and right, all kinds of good stuff. And I hope to, now that my kids, last one's 17, I hope to hit the road a little bit more starting next year.
Nice.
Well, we would love to have you sometime in Houston.
Cool. Thank you.
I love it. Well, Anne, thanks for taking time to come hang out with us and chitter chat with us and listen to Russell make fun of my jailbird orange for sure. And listen to our new segment that tends to happen. Sandy, I'm glad that you had internet and you could hang out and party with us. To everyone in Houston that does not have power when you listen to it, I'm glad that you finally got power. I hope that you finally also get Wi-Fi. This has been a huge mess, and so I'm hanging out for you guys to get all of that. Russell.
I have nothing to say.
Oh,
I'm happy. We had a great show.
Oh, he tricked me. He muted. But you guys, until next Monday, have a great Monday and a great rest of your week. And until then, bye, everybody.